He couldn't that capacity. It was what you call that? Futurama episode like that where Bender became a human. Mm-hmm. He just lost all his faculties once he began to taste and sensationalize and feel sensations. He just was doing whatever sensation was next, and that's what they trained us to do. And they say, hey, if it feels good, go ahead and do it. Tastes good, go ahead and eat it. Blah blah, go ahead and buy it. And again, this is training the mind. And if there was a site again, if people were, it's like, nah, man, we all think before we do. We all think. And then if that was the culture, then that's like running into Asian people. Yeah, their whole culture is thinking ahead of time. So when this lady came through Walmart to buy a bike, her kids was asking me about tire pressure and all this other stuff. Is the chain good? These kids like 8, 9 years old. But they running me through it because they were trained on how to ask questions to get what they want at that young age. So that's a cultural thing. But culturally here, we've been trained to go seek a sensation. So as soon as that kid can bounce the ball good, we happy.
Yeah, I just kind of think that some of that is just you talk about the innate animalistic self. Mm-hmm. I just think a lot of that is just genetic predisposition on account of us being human beings. Mm-hmm. I think that the way that the brain works, which we have, like the brain formulates. Everyone's brain starts off at square one, mm-hmm. and I just think that a brain, it's a nature versus nurture thing. I think a brain is inherently triggered by sexuality. It's no different than animals in the animal kingdom. Animals are animals. Like a lion, a pride of lions, the one male lion innately has the desire to, multiply. What's the word? The biological term. To mate, I guess. Mm-hmm. Sexuality is just inherent in being an animal, right. And we are animals. Right. And so we are triggered by sexuality, and our brains release endorphins when we're exposed to sexuality because out of the womb, the brain is just programmed to do that. Right. It's no different than this computer is programmed for me to hit this key, and that's what I see. I hit the F key, and I get the F button because the programmers created the computer for you to hit that F key, and you see that F button. I'm not going to hit the F key and see an R. Mm-hmm. Unless my computer is just fucked up. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna, that's the way it's supposed to work. Our brain is supposed to work in such a way that the brain doesn't really, it does, but I think innately is what I'm saying. Our brain is not innately programmed to release endorphins when we're exposed to logic. Innately. It's not. We learn through experience. If we are turned on by logic, mm-hmm. you learn to release, your brain sort of learns to release endorphins when you're exposed to logic. But innately, it's not going to happen that way because you haven't gained those experiences yet. You don't have to gain experiences in order for you to be triggered by sexuality. Right. The brain develops in such a way that you're going to be triggered by sexuality. We don't have any control over that. And that's not us being told to be triggered by sexuality. It's just the messages that are causing us to be triggered by sexuality are that much more potent because of the way that we are genetically predisposed to sexuality.
I agree with that.
There is a line there, and I think that we're very, very close. We're not that far apart. Mm-hmm. Principally, I think we are agreeing mm-hmm. that to be sort of triggered by certain messages is tantamount to some type of controlled avenue. Like it's tantamount to some sort of cerebral gleaning where for a very long time we're just exposed to some of these messages until it manifests itself in us just wanting that. And if we are told that we want it because that's all we see and we don't necessarily have a choice, then eventually we're not going to want that choice because we're going to desire that.
Right. And I agree, man, but and listen, and just to bring up the anal point again, because that's a good reference point. Hell, nothing on the girl's face is a good reference point too. Because that's something that you can do now. And that was something before you had that. Like, you still gotta act. She ain't gotta act like that. She's more or less into it, even if you find the right one. So, but before it was looked at like, you ain't doing nothing to me like that.
Yeah, but see, I hear what you're saying, but I guess what I'm saying is I draw a distinction between sexuality and anal. I don't think anal is something that we innately are triggered by. We've been told, and I agree with you, like, we have been told through the proliferation of the sex industry, sex being something that isn't something that's kept in-house anymore. We see it all over TV. It's all in the pornos and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so we have been sort of led continuously since the inception of these things to perceive anal to be something that we may desire. We agree there. But I am drawing a distinction between anal and sexuality. Anal is something that has been impressed upon us. Sexuality is something that is innately animalistic and human. It's already there.
So sexuality,
we already want it.
So sexuality, regardless of what sexual act you do, is something that's innately within all humans.
It's something that we already want.
Exactly. So this sphere, if you will, is the sexual energy ball that lives inside of every human. Let's say that this sphere is born within all of us. And then there's conditions on the outside that could stimulate this thing, that would then create suggestions in the mind that the mind can now entertain. Life is about entertaining suggestions. Don't care who you are. Not saying that I'm gay, but if you didn't have a gay thought, you're lying. Because something crossed your mind because you done ran across enough shit to have some kind of gay thought. And then it's from that point, do you entertain it or do you just let it go? Mm-hmm. That's not my thought. I've had thoughts of throwing people out of windows. Yeah. I'm not really going to do that, but I thought it. And I was like, damn, are you wicked? I let it go. There's some people who actually grab the gun and go into church and shoot people. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, not everybody... You know what I'm saying? It's whoever decides to entertain the thought. Mm-hmm. Life is suggestion. They suggest stuff to a confused sphere. If your sphere isn't... If you understand you have a sphere here and you have to protect it in order to protect your life, then at that point you protect it with thought. So once you protect this thing with thought, they try to penetrate it with suggestions. A lot of people already have a good enough thing from backgrounds at home and stuff, but once you see that these girls on this thing and the sheet busting and wide open, and you say, hey, bruh, that good girl don't do all of this, but that one does. So you have more or less of a thing where I want to get these sexual fantasies off, but I can't do that with a girl who won't allow me to because she cares. Mm-hmm. So then you do whatever. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing is, it's the suggestion, not your sexual whatever. It was whatever was given to you. Because that kid from the bushes who has innate sexual desires, he would procreate with a woman later. But would he do it like a man who's just fucking for the first time, or for somebody who's watching porn for the first whatever years of his life and trying to do what he's been seeing? Mm-hmm. And now he's got fantasies because he saw what he did to her and he thinks that's hot. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So then a girl will have a conversation with you about her ex or about some guy she used to fuck and all the weird shit he was into, because he was watching too much porn. Mm-hmm. He needed to watch porn while he was fucking. Mm-hmm. It's shit like that going on. No knock, bro, but hey, man, drop this shit. So my whole thing is that you'll hear shit like that, and it's become a dynamic. You can't tell me that there weren't humans fucking or being able to be sexually aroused before pornography, but there's some guys who can only get hard.
Porn has perverted sexuality.
Right.
It no doubt has.
So, but it's an underbelly of entertainment and time spent where people are acting like it ain't going on. And so, if you spend just as much time watching porn as you do grocery shopping, you're spending too much time watching porn.
That's a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, you're watching too much. Yeah. At that point, it's in your psyche to the point where it's throwing you off. It's too many suggestions. So now, when you go in public, you can't keep it in your pants. Even though you have to, You looking at every ass that come by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the sexuality got confused with too many suggestions. As soon as you see that ass, the suggestion says, "Hey, you want to see how that is? Hey, man, blah 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 blah." And there's other people who watch her and just keep rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I'm saying is there's some that innate thing that's in all of us, and we all have a heart too, an innate heart that needs protection. And one thing about when we talk about women, theirs are more open, and so the thing is with men, it's there too, but we are trained to shield it off, and so. Then when we naturally feel something, suggestion comes in that says, "You're a man. You don't do that." Now that's a suggestion. Now who says such a thing? And who's trained us on how to become a man? Or when to be emotional? Or how to be emotional? So then guys, not knowing what to do, when the girl pisses him off, either raising his voice too hard, probably swinging on her, because he don't know how to process these natural, innate things from the heart. So what we're dealing with is an attack on the various aspects of our psyche, if you will. Mm-hmm. And when I was just bringing about the pipeline thing is, or the agenda is, they know what kind of suggestions to suggest.
Of course.
Right.
We don't disagree there.
Right.
We don't disagree there at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess I'll always believe that those suggestions, you know, are just always, it's always easier to make a suggestion when you're already 1 foot out the door anyway. Like if you're already somebody who's been watching porn and so your very concept of sex has become perverted because you've been watching porn for so long, it's easy for you to turn on the TV and be triggered and be triggered by what you're seeing on TV.
Too long. And I use grocery shopping, I use brushing your teeth. If you spending that much time watching porn, you're watching too much. And what I'm saying is, you're too much time in that suggestion box is too much. It throws off it throws shit off. It's just that enough. And so what I'm saying is, it's not that I'm saying like ban it. I'm just saying that thing has a large impact. I see memes that are just too much because, and I know it's from porn influence. Everybody's talking all this wild shit from porn.
Yeah, I know, but you're not wrong, but you know, porn is the driving force that it has become because of our innate sexuality. Like, I guess at this point I'm just talking in circles.
Yeah, I know.
But I just, you know, it's a chicken or the egg thing. What came first? Us being force-fed porn or us wanting sex, and therefore porn is just something that helps to facilitate that. And I err on the side of we already wanted sex to begin with. And so, you know, that's why I err on the side of we wanted to see that Tyrese video already. That's why it has so many likes. That's why there's no counterbalance with logical content, with sensationalized content, because we wanted to see that first.
Right.
And so, if I am able to control a narrative and control a message, if I run Viacom or if I run whatever, Time Warner, if I run these companies, I'm going to say these zombies want to see this sex stuff. They want to see that Tyrese stuff. They want to see the reality stuff already. I'm just going to give them what they want.
Yeah, now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give you what you want.
Right.
Like, and to be clear, this stuff was not as big a deal before the internet. Of course, we already know that some of this stuff has become so pervasive because of the way that we can access anything at any given moment.
Right.
So if I can, you know, press the home button on my phone and hit the IG button, and I'm seeing all of these women that I couldn't dream of being with in reality, it is only going to reinforce the fact that I crave what I perceive to be a physically attractive female from the jump. And I'm being told that is what I am supposed to have, is that type of female. But what was already there first? The fact that I wanted a female to begin with.
Exactly.
So it was already there.
The act of engaging in sex with the opposite sex, yeah, that was in you before you were born. That's what you're saying. But not every girl, and I clearly everybody has their own taste in women, different taste in women. But I'll just use this as an example. I was all for the S shape, the hourglass figure before waist trainers. I was a fan of the natural one. But then when the waist trainers came, it was bringing out the ass and natural women, and I was fucking with it. But then, now it's waist trainers, titties, and fake ass. Fake hips, fake everything. And so when I'm watching these atrocities walk, trying to be sexy, and I'm watching the gelatin or whatever the hell it is, hard as a rock, move around, and as if it's hot, and people in the comment section losing their minds. There's some people in there say fake ass. You'll get those people, but for the most part, people love it.
Those are zombies.
Okay.
Number one, those are zombies, and number two.
What do you mean he a zombie?
Huh?
Is that not innate?
Not artificiality. No.
But it's a woman.
Yeah, it's a woman. It's a woman that's plastic. All
right, go ahead.
It's not. It's. I don't think that it is natural for you to be able. If you have the ability to discern, and you can say this woman is plastic, this woman is not plastic. I think that your judgment can kind of come in, and there is no trigger. There's no trigger that is present for that plastic woman
but
if you have the ability to discern.
Right.
The people who are liking that plastic woman on the internet do not have the ability to discern.
Discern what?
Plastic from fake. Plastic from real.
He doesn't care. It's just flat. Actually, her ass looks fatter with that in there.
Okay.
So what's the big deal, bro? That's what people say. Discern what? For just for you to say that, because there's some people who don't want to discern.
But I'm doing that though.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I'm saying that isn't what's hot.
That's at that point. That's your choice within your realm of innate sexuality.
Yes, it is my choice. Right. So we have the choice. We have the choice.
Right.
So what are we talking about here?
I was saying that the whole thing is that the innate sexuality is innate sexuality.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the thing that's pure. That's the thing that you want to be with one person with, more or less, or share that special personal moment with, and all that shit. When you're having sex with a random, but you want to treat her like your girl. This is what I'm talking about. Then, but when we start to talk about preferences vary from from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
So you may go, hey man, that's what I like, but you were saying that that's an innate thing, that's what it is because you just like women and it's sexual, and so but you have a preference within that innate ability.
Yeah.
So it's not innate if there's a preference to it. That's your preference, and preferences are controlled through thought.
The preference isn't innate, but the thing itself is.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing is, yes, the thing itself is sex.
Yeah.
Right. But the preference, what I was saying is, because people confuse this with the same sex within the preference. So it's this thing that gets confused. The same thing that people are sharing with the same sex, but they're going, no. I go, no.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're confusing the two. And if it's like, yeah, bro, what you're experiencing is real. Whenever y'all having y'all thing, you reached your climax.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, you can't tell. You can say, hey, bro, you can't tell me nothing. All right, bro, I'm not. But what I'm saying is you're experiencing the same sexual phenomenon of energy of being pleasured and stuff like that. That's innate in all humans. What we're discussing right now is preferences.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been saying the whole time is pipeline controls preferences, period. And so you may have yours and you may feel like it's innate, and mine ain't really wavering like that because I discern. Other people don't do. See, what you call discernment is discerning what new influences to not accept. Because you've already got your base level of acceptance that may be altered from somebody else's. And so that guy over there doesn't have the same barometer. He says, I don't care. That ass is fat. and I would fuck her. You wouldn't fuck her? All right, I would fuck her. All right, then what you saying? Saying. You trying to tell me? So there's that guy who don't care. So my whole thing is that once, so that's what I was just saying. I know we were basically saying the same thing, but I'm just trying to get that these are, sexuality is its own mind within humans. And so once you separate it and you go, hey, it's not my brain. Clearly it isn't, because it overrides it every time.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it's got its brain of its own, and we have to acknowledge this as people. And we protect it with thoughts, and we protect it with preferences, but then they get you with suggestions. And so now, we're at the age where we straight. But there's a kid right now who don't know the difference, and that was my whole argument, a 7-year-old kid who don't know the difference, where transgenderism is being injected as thoughts.
Yeah.
So it ain't gonna hit him yet. But
it's not even being injected as thought, it's being injected as you need to like this.
Right. You're progressive.
Yes. You have to like this. If you don't like this, then at that point there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you're not human.
Yeah.
Because you're not accepting it.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
So, but he's 7. So, you know what the fuck? His preferences are being controlled, or they're being formulated.